Well, praise the good Lord, saints of the Most High. If I could see your hands, I would ask how many of you are in favor or not in favor of daylight savings. I don't know if you realize and notice, but in two Sundays from now, we will be doing our daylight savings time come, I believe it's November the 7th. And I personally don't have an issue, no problem with it. Actually, I kind of like it for the fall, winter time. But I do realize that for me, it can be a disadvantage. And that's kind of like what I'm going to talk about today, about the disadvantage of us being in the Midwest and having daylight savings concerning our health. That this time of the year, we really have to be more intentional about what we're doing or concerning our health. I know I did a video, I believe it was the last video or the video before that, about commitment. And really right now, if you haven't considered or even thought about making some commitments right now, today is a good time to do that, so that you can be intentional about keeping up with your health, because we do realize and know that that is very important, is to keep up with our health. I was thinking about this, and I thought about it in the sense of habits are not hard to develop. So it doesn't take no effort whatsoever to develop habits, whether they're good or bad. But I'm mainly talking about bad habits. So bad habits does not take too much time or too much effort to develop. But it is hard to kick bad habits. So if you have some bad habits in your life that is affecting your health, it is hard to get rid of those bad habits, to kick those bad habits, but it's very important for us to do something about it. Because if we don't kick those bad habits, then it's going to turn around and kick us, I guess, if you want to say. When it's all said and done, we're going to be the ones that's going to be suffering from the things that we feel like we can't give up or we can't control. And so back to daylight savings, it's very hard, because, it's getting darker earlier and it's staying dark for a very long time. So for example, last week we were on vacation, and coming into this week, I was, prepared to go back and start doing my morning prayer time at the church. I attend morning prayer at the church, and I thank God for that, and for Agape being open for morning prayer. And because of situations and circumstances, my husband ended up going to morning prayer in my stead, so that he can take care of things at the church, and I stayed at home to pray. Well, let's say that I did my best to pray at home. It's just interesting because it's cold outside, it's dark outside. I was in the comfort of my home that I found myself struggling to pray here at the house. Now, I had good intentions, so I got up and I did what I knew that I needed to do, but it did not come without a struggle. And why? That's all because of me being at home, and it's cold and it's dark and whatnot. So thank the Lord, we switched our schedule back up, and so I was able to go to prayer on this morning, and I'll be on tomorrow as well, and continue on as the Lord would allow. But my point is that even though with good intentions, sometimes things can be a little bit of a struggle. So it's important for us to start thinking about, as the weather is changing and the time is changing, about coming up and implementing a plan in your life on how you want to continue to take care of your health. It's really important now, probably more important now, for us to think about it and consider it for several different reasons. We have more holidays during the fall and winter time. So you got a lot of holidays up to New Year's Day, New Year's Eve, that we're doing a lot of celebration, a lot of jobs doing, holiday parties, and we having all this Thanksgiving and Christmas and any and everything in between. So now is more important, because we're going to find ourselves eating more, and most likely eating more unhealthier things than we normally typically would do in probably 2 or 3 month span. It's important for us to consider and implement a plan to do well during this season change because of the weather. So we talked about the weather, and it's cold outside. Today was a rainy day, so very good day, I guess you can say, to be lazy. If you really wanted an excuse to be lazy today was like the perfect lazy day. But we got to be mindful because the weather is changing, and also we tend to do a lot less because of the daylight, because we are losing daylight. So we find ourselves doing a whole lot less during this time of the year. And so with that being said, let's talk about how it can affect us mentally and physically. So mentally, it can affect us because a lot of times, because it's cold, at least in Indianapolis, I do have some people that's on the email that's not from Indianapolis, but especially here in the Midwest Indianapolis, we have a lot of cold days. And so the cold days, the wet days, the dark days causes us to kind of stay isolated or stay within ourselves, which is not a good thing. You know, we find ourselves not going to, well, we have to go to work for the most part. I guess if we could call off, we would. But we find ourselves, not wanting to go anywhere and do anything, including church. Ooh, hate to say that. But anyway, it's the truth. So, but it, because of the weather changes and whatnot, it causes us to, become more isolated. We like to hibernate. We like to stay in and not be out. So that affects us and can affect us mentally. So you should have good intentions this year, this winter, this fall and winter, to get out more, especially after last year. We was isolated last year and quarantine and all this and that. Maybe this year, make it a little bit better for yourself. Get out and enjoy the holidays. Get out and enjoy the fall days when it's not too cold, where you can walk trails and stuff like that. The holidays, I know there are a lot of different holidays events that are going on. Just get out. Don't isolate yourself. Okay, it's very important. And also mentally, it's very important because of daylight savings. Because we're losing daylight, we're losing our sun. We're losing a lot of sun time. And sun is very important because, as we discussed before, vitamin D. That's where we get our source, our most natural source of vitamin D is through the sun. Of course, you can eat different foods, such as salmon, eggs, cheese, and different things of that sort. But the most natural way of getting the vitamin D is through the sunlight. And why vitamin D is important? Because scientists say it helps reduces depression and different mental illnesses, which makes a whole lot of sense. We know that we are children of the light. The darkness gives us a different feel when we're in dark, okay? But light makes us happy. It energizes us in a way that we can't explain, and light is very, very important. So since we're getting less of it, we have to be more intentional about taking care of our mental by taking vitamin D supplements, or making sure that when there is sunlight, you get some sunlight as much as possible. And also, it is healthy. Vitamin D is healthy for the physical. So we'll talk about the physical now. So the physical, when you take vitamin D, it's healthy for your bones and your teeth and your nervous system. So your nervous system is very, very important when it comes to you being sick and recovering well. It's very important to take care of that nervous system. So vitamin D is very, very important. So you can take some supplements, like I said, or eat certain foods, and definitely get out in the sun whenever we have some nice sunny days that is comfortable enough to be outdoors. Also, the physical part of it that we find ourselves doing less of during the fall, winter season is exercising. So we find ourselves exercising less, and we find ourselves sleeping more and sitting more. So come up with a plan. That's all I'm saying. Come up with a plan. We know the time is changing. We know that we're losing daylight. We know that it's cold outside. So that does not mean for us to stop doing what we know we need to do to continue on with our health. This is the time period where a lot of people end up picking up a lot of weight. And let me tell you, it is not hard and difficult to gain the weight. Just like it's not hard and difficult to develop a bad habit, but it can be hard and difficult to lose it. And so, interesting enough, last week we were on vacation, and I didn't think I did bad, but I did eat things that I normally typically wouldn't eat because I was out of town. I was out of town, and of course, I'm not cooking. I'm not trying to cook on my vacation or whatever, but I did, try to be mindful or whatever. But between last Wednesday and our travel and this past Sunday, believe it or not, according to my scale, because I weighed myself on purpose prior, and then I weighed myself when I got home, either that Sunday or Monday. I believe it was Sunday night, I gained 7 pounds. And so, of course, with that being said, it might not look like it, might not feel like it, but I gained it according to the scale. And so I'm, on the, with the mindset of actually losing that. But my point is, it doesn't take no effort at all. So that's why we have to be intentional, and we have to be committed. Those two words that I would say to you and encourage you, to be intentional and be committed when it comes to your health. Because if you are not well, and I've said it before, and it's the truth, if you are not well, how can you be a help and a blessing to anyone else if you're not well? Another story, and I'll let you go. Speaking of not being well and how can you be a help to others, one day last week, we were out, my family and I, and this lady randomly came up and asked for some aspirins or something of that sort. And I repented before God after it was all said and done, because I knew, like my husband, with the opportunity that God gives you to be able to be used for his kingdom, that was an opportunity and a time for me to be able to stop and pray for that woman. But because of what I was going through in my body at the time, I wasn't 100% well in my body, and my mind was kind of not there because I was bothered by something that had nothing to do with anybody in particular, just something that I was bothered with. So because mentally I wasn't there and physically I wasn't feeling my best, I did not take that opportunity to take some time and pray for that woman, in which that's what I should have done. And so my point is, if you're not well mentally or physically well, how can you be a help and a blessing to others? So it is very, very important for us to take care of our health, not just for ourselves, but then for others as well. So my point of it all, because I see my time, is that as we are approaching daylight savings, which it will be 2 Sundays from now, and as we're approaching daylight savings November the 7th, it's going to get colder, it's going to get darker for a very long time. You're not going to feel like doing a whole lot. But it's important to already have that in your mindset and try to implement a plan for you to be able to get out and be active and stay healthy. I had also wrote down, plan to go out to join a gym membership if you want, buy some equipment, okay? You don't have to buy brand new. You can look on, I think, Facebook Market, Craigslist, Nextdoor apps, and all these different places. Buy you some equipment. I have an exercise bike, I told you before, upstairs in one room, and then I have a treadmill in the basement. And then my videos are upstairs on the main floor. So depending on my day, my mood, if I'm not outdoor doing anything, I have opportunities and, to do things here. And I do plan on, as I see things, add it to my equipment that I already have here. So use your apps and get videos or whatever you need to do. Just be intentional, as we know that we are approaching, daylight savings and fall and winter seasons. Don't wait until the New Year's to commit to a New Year's resolution. Commit today, commit right now. Because if you can't commit now and whatnot, I don't know that it would make a difference in the new year. It's not something like a magical clock, like my husband said, that goes off and whatnot, and then we all of a sudden feel inspired. So I hope you feel the inspiration today to make a change and whatnot. Do remember that November the 6th, we will be talking more next Saturday about mental health. And so I sent in my announcement, and Lord willing, it will be read on this Sunday. So feel free to invite someone out. We will talk more about, we will talk a little bit about with Evangelist Lisa O'Connor. There's some things I want to bring out that she talked about, and then we'll also talk about just our everyday stressors and how to have some coping mechanism and just whatever we have to be able to share, to be able to help each other in our everyday life and routine that can be very, very stressful. So that will be next Saturday, November the 6th. So I think that's all I have for you right now. I appreciate you listening as always. And as always, if you have any questions or comments, please let me know. And I will see you all on Sunday, Lord willing. God bless you and have a blessed day.